Well, hell,
All right, you guys, welcome back to eXp Family Tree Wednesday Mastermind. Thanks, you guys, always for watching live in the workplace and the eXp Family Tree group, or coming and spending time with us here on Zoom. And for those of you that are watching later on YouTube, remember, every Wednesday at the same time and the same Zoom link, we are here meeting and we bring guests in to talk about all things that are going to relate to being productive in your business, sometimes even in your life, and some other really awesome business related topics that you guys should certainly stay in the know about. And you can invite anybody to these. These are open to anyone from any company because it's a Zoom link. And we are truly just here to learn together, mastermind, and be better. And you can also share the live stream, tag your people, and or share the YouTube link later. So within 24 hours, you'll see that up on my YouTube channel. So without further ado, we have Renee Funk here, and she has been here before, but it's been a while since I've been able to get her on our Wednesday call. And I'm super excited because we're going to actually talk about something a little bit different today, but it's very important. We know that 2023 is a little bit of a different year. I mean, honestly, since about 2019, it's been a different year every year, right, Renee? It's like we're just
back
trying
to
to
back to
figure out
back unicorn years,
yeah,
right?
like what unicorn year do we have in 2023? But it is ever changing. And that's the only constant, is that there's always going to be change. And so if we embrace it, that's awesome. And if we can continue to have conversations around it, even better, because that's how we continue to grow in the times of change and ultimately become a very, very well-versed, well-rounded real estate professional and entrepreneur. So today we're going to talk to Renee, or Renee's going to talk to us about the conversations we should be having in 2023. And I can't wait to hear your perspective on this. And everybody here should know Renee, but just in case, Renee, do you want to give a very short bio of yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you, Cari. My name's Renee Funk. I'm a team leader of the Funk Collection, brokered by eXp Realty in Orlando, Florida. Very proud eXp Realty agent for almost 7 years now, and super proud of the work that's being done in eXp Family Tree. So big shout out to Cari for all the servant leadership that you continue to provide. For that, we are all grateful, because Cari is yet a shining example of rising tide lifts all boats. So thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to sharing and hopefully having a collaborative conversation about how we can be elevating our conversations in 2023 with our real estate business.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, the thing is that the relationship is the conversation. Right, Renee? I heard that one time and I thought, okay, that's really interesting, because you don't always think about how we need to learn how to be better in conversations. We have to have the fierce conversations. We have to know how to communicate. We have to grow our skills in this and know what types of conversations we should be having today or in certain circumstances. But when I read a particular book and the author said the relationship is the conversation, it made me go back and reflect on some of my relationships, realizing, yeah, that is the truth. And what can I change? What do I need to change in order to change the conversation, therefore change the relationship? And I think that that is really key when it comes to our real estate business, because real estate is all about relationships.
So true. And while you referred to the few back-to-back unicorn years that the real estate industry and, quite frankly, the world has experienced, one thing that remains consistent is how we continue to earn relationships can be a direct correlation to the amount of success that we have, and how deep the roots of our foundation in our real estate business can grow, which means that we sustain the test of time regardless of what's happening in the real estate market. We ebb and we flow. But what we don't do when we're focused on strengthening our relationships at the core is we don't freak out or panic that things are going to fall apart completely because something may change in the real estate industry. And I think that as newer agents, and certainly agents who have come into the industry over the last 3 years, one thing that can be a little scary or overwhelming is the fear of change in the industry. And yet it's perfectly okay, because that is one constant: is the industry is going to continue to change. And there is an ebb and flow to, people say market shift. I don't like the word market shift. I think the market has a tendency to ebb and flow and change depending on a varying degree of environmental circumstances. And we, as strong professional real estate agents, we have the skills to ebb and flow along with it and keep building our real estate business.
I mean, that's the thing. It's all about the words we use. So it's so interesting. We're talking about, the conversations that we should be having. The conversation is the relationship. We are in a relationship based business. If we have deeper relationships, we have more business as a real estate professional. And then the words we use, which are really part of the conversation we're having, whether it be on social media, one-on-one, in groups,
Yeah.
in our own minds, absolutely matter, because words make us feel a certain way, and feelings are what actually make us act or not act. It also is what's going to make your clients act or not act. So being very careful about the conversations that we're having and the words that we're using is really key, not only for our own mental health and motivation and inspiration and growth in our business, but for those around us too. And the people around us, our potential clients, our agent partners, this is really, really critical, and we lead ourselves first. We're going to help to elevate all the people. There we go. I'll mute all the people in our industry and in our communities, quite frankly, which is our job as a real estate professional, right, Renee?
Community ambassadors is what we are.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness, Cari, so you've talked a little bit about the words we use, and I don't even think I shared this with you in anticipation of our time together.
No.
And I'm going to share with everybody something I've been very passionate about. About a year ago, I was introduced to an author and keynote speaker. His name's Phil M. Jones. If you're on the call, my question is, have you read this book? Is this next to you at all times? It's Exactly What to Say by Phil M. Jones. I love this book for so many reasons. When it was first introduced to me, I said, okay, I'll read it. I know, another book, another book. And actually it was my husband, my favorite realtor on the planet. He said, no, Renee, you need to listen or read this book. And we do a lot of Audible. And I said, okay, I'll get around to it. I'll get around to it. And he said, no. Another couple of weeks have passed. You still haven't read this book. You need to read this book. And the reality is, a year later, what I have known to be true with Exactly What to Say by Phil M. Jones is that it's not a book. It's not just a book. It's actually a body of work that has been completely revolutionizing the way that we are approaching relationships in our business. And even with our agent to agent colleague relationships, it's revolutionizing the way that we're connecting with others. And there's some key areas that we've focused on that I'm looking forward to share today. And yet I have a couple of questions. I know we have some here in chat. We have some watching on the live feed. If you're not driving and you're able to, I'm curious if you could drop into chat in 3 words or less. How has the last 3 months in your real estate business been as compared to last year? In 3 words or less, how would you explain the last 3 months in your real estate business as compared to last year? Drop it into chat. I want to see it. I'm following along here in chat. I got you guys all in workplace. I see you guys here in workplace. I see hectic, awesome, very similar. I see Joanne said she read that book years ago too. Very good. Joanne, time to pull the book back out. Keep it with you at all times. It's always in my always within arm's length, and I travel with it. So hectic is a word that stands out. Any other words? How has your business in real estate been the last 3 months as compared to last year? I'll share one. It's been interesting. And at times I've wondered, as a professional real estate agent, does the real estate market have an identity crisis, right? What the heck is going on that we would have these 3 years back to back that are very unicorn-like? And with that, it's so critically important to be focused on curiosity, understanding the humans that we are seeking to earn a relationship with, and understanding what their goals are. And that is a lot of what we've been working on with the Fun Collection through the Exactly What to Say book. I see Lisa said interesting, busy, challenging. All right, I have another question. What would be, if you think about your business over the last 3 months, what would be one area of your real estate business that you want to continue to earn more relationships through? Perhaps it's you're working in open houses. Perhaps it's your sphere of influence. What would be one area that you want to gain more relationships and earn more business opportunities through? Drop it into chat, or if you're here on Zoom, feel free to open your mic. Luxury. I see John says luxury. I see Elizabeth Riley in the house. Hi, friend. Cari, what would be an area that you're seeking to say, you know what, I have a pillar of my business and it's going really well, and I'd like to earn more relationships from that pillar and have more opportunities for more business?
Call people and meet new friends, because I don't call anyone. And if I do, it would be an amazing opportunity for me. Ah, I really
Well,
don't
so
call anyone.
calling people. Okay, wait. So Cari's not
More
alone.
intentionally. So I reach out to people daily, hourly. I follow up relentlessly. But to meet new friends, new people that I could collaborate with in some way, shape, or form, there's so many different ways that I believe that, with all the things that we do, from our co-working space to EXP to, my Christian women's networking group, there's so many reasons and ways and opportunities in my coaching that I should just be picking up the phone and calling people to meet new people. And that is just something that I never seem to make time for. So that really is something that has been on my heart lately to do and to carve time out for.
Can we play for a minute, Cari?
Yeah,
You and I? Can we play? It's a safe space, right?
of course.
We're here to grow. Let's play a little bit. So Cari's not alone. All of us who will be truthful with ourselves in the real estate industry should join Cari and raise our hands and say there's probably a contact or two in our database.
Mm-hmm.
There could perhaps be an entire segment of our database and our contacts that we know we should be calling and we're not currently. What could be one reason that we're hesitant to call? If you envision maybe one of those contacts, Cari, from the areas that you just mentioned, what would be one reason that maybe there's some hesitancy?
There's hesitancy because I'm not in a habit of doing it. Number one, I'm not comfortable
Yep.
doing it. I'm comfortable doing everything else. So it's easy. So also, and I think this is for a lot of people on the call, I think Elizabeth said, I don't call either. If we already have opportunity coming to us, it's like, just take the opportunities coming. Why do we have to go find new ones when we already are fairly comfortable with what's coming? The reason why is because when we're not uncomfortable and we're just letting things come to us, we're not growing. I mean, that really is
Right.
the truth. It's easy for me to do the things and I always get a result. So there's really no reason for me to call, but the reason for me to call is to get outside of my comfort zone, to grow and to reach other people that I could actually be helping that aren't seeing the other things that I'm doing. So I'm really doing a disservice because there are probably people out there that need my help that I'm not reaching out to because I'm just being kind of comfortable and lazy, frankly.
Well, and lazy is a tough word. We all, because
Well, I
you
mean, I
are
think
not,
I kind of
you are
am
not
because
lazy, friend.
yeah, I mean, in
Comfortable,
a sense,
comfortable.
yeah, in a sense,
Yeah.
it's a little bit like, I say lazy because my husband and I talk all the time about doing hard things, so we'll push
Mm,
ourselves to do hard things in different areas. But I find myself like, if I'm doing something hard in one area, I kind of do feel like I want to be a little bit more lazy in other areas because it's a lot to
sure.
be comfortable in all the things. Yet that really is what makes us more happy. And it really is what makes us more confident. And it is really what brings us internal joy by showing up and doing hard things and being like, wow, see, I knew I could do that. And I was able to affect some change. And I am growing as a person or a professional or in my health or in my faith. And so, lazy to me isn't a bad word. It's just staying kind of in that zone where you're not pushing yourself. And we all have those times and we all have those spaces, I think, in our life. And quite frankly, it's probably unrealistic to think that we're going to be at the top of our game in all areas of our life at all times. But I think it's the awareness around it. And then choosing at that time, well, what's important to me? And do I really want to do this? So I've had it on my heart and I've talked about it, but the step I haven't yet taken is figuring out how do I carve out the time. And so if it's important to
Mm.
me, I will. And I
Well,
haven't
and
yet.
I'll share a few questions that we can all, and again, if you're not driving, get your pen and paper out because we're going to write some things down. I'll share some questions,
Okay.
Cari, that could be beneficial to ask yourself in these moments and for everyone on the call to ask ourselves as we're identifying areas of opportunity within our contacts, right? First things is Cari's mentioning an area of her database that maybe she feels she should call. And yet Cari has a tremendous amount of business coming in and some business opportunities that are serving her. So the question really can be is, have you asked yourself, who are you truly seeking to serve?
Mm-hmm.
Have you asked yourself, what are the solutions you're seeking to provide those people? So when we slow down and we can get so busy, right? We can get into such this cadence of I'm in action and I'm doing really great things. And then we impose this guilt on ourselves at times, or this feeling like I should be doing more or I should be doing something different. Could it be possible to slow down for a moment and truly get in our center to say, well, first, before I beat myself up or before I even discover what's next, what additional pillars in my business should I add? Let's slow down and ask the question, who am I seeking to serve? And what are the solutions I'm seeking to provide those people?
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean, Cari, that you shouldn't start calling those contacts from those amazing communities that you're building. And yet, maybe some of the hesitancy could be, well, what are we really clear on? Who are you seeking to serve within that community? And what are the solutions you're seeking to provide?
Mhm.
And then on that topic too, and I see this often with newer agents or agents who are rising up and maybe in their first few 2-3 years of being a licensed real estate agent, there at times can be some call hesitancy with any part of their database, but certainly the sphere of influence. And that call hesitancy can sometimes be driven by the fact that agents feel like when we make those calls, we have to call and sell something.
Mhm.
Do we really have to call and sell something? We don't. And so what I've found over the years with some newer agents who, or any agent that has that call hesitancy, is getting clear with what is the ideal outcome that you're seeking to achieve from the phone call. So first, if we slow down and we ask, who are we seeking to serve? Then we ask ourselves and sit with that for a minute. What are the solutions we're seeking to provide those people? Now we can get clear on who should you be reaching out to build stronger relationships,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Then we ask ourselves, what is the ideal outcome of the call? Is the ideal outcome of the call to gain an appointment to go list their home? Well, then that's a very specific type of call with a very specific outcome. And you, as a professional agent, know exactly how to make that call and have an opportunity to acquire that potential listing consultation.
Mhm.
Could it be possible some of those phone calls, though, are a connection call to call and say, I see you, I'm thinking of you, and to just make a connection and not feel like we have to say, oh my gosh, never, ever, ever say the who do you know who's looking to buy or sell in real estate? I did it for years too, but time's moved on. We don't have to ask that question anymore. We can just be in good communication and relationship with our contacts. And when we're doing our role right, we can introduce in those calls some passive mentions that will let them know we're in real estate, such as something as simple as, I thought of you today. How is the family? How are the kiddos? How's the spouse? General niceties that you already know about them. And then they're going to ask you how you are. And you're going to say, unbelievable. I was on a webinar today with a fellow real estate leader and colleague, Cari, and some of the things we were doing is helping coach and train real estate agents. I'm looking forward to tomorrow because my kiddos are starting school. And then I proceed to share with them all the other things going on when they've asked me how I am.
Mm.
We don't have to ask and if we're having any of those hesitancies, we don't have to go right to the who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, or trade real estate or invest in real estate. We can truly have a connection phone call.
Yeah. Absolutely. And by the way, you guys, if you are driving, I did type these in the chat and I put them under the live stream so you can go grab them later. Great questions to ask yourself. I always say the quality of your life and business is going to be equivalent to the quality of the questions you ask yourself. Sometimes we don't even know what questions to ask ourselves because we're too in it. So these are great clarity questions. And sometimes lack of clarity is what actually makes us stall out. Sometimes, we just think we have to do something or we should do something and we don't really have clarity of why we want to do it. So that's a really great aha.
And also knowing that there are things that we can be doing in our real estate business to continue to earn the relationship in that passive way. I know we're sales professionals. There's always a time that we can go in for the sell, go in for the ask. And though, when we're looking at building a sustainable business and we're looking at sustaining any kind of changes in the industry, making sure that our relationships are top notch and that we truly understand what the other person's goals and lifestyles they're seeking to achieve, that is how we can really show up for them in a big way. There's a 5-step reset that can be beneficial for any agent to kind of take that pause and say, let me get really clear with who I'm seeking to serve and how I'm showing up for those opportunities. And remember, I said, get your pen out, have some more for us to write down. And I'm giving you a little bit of homework for things that we can be asking ourselves to get clear on these opportunities. First question I want you to consider is, who are the people that you need to ask more quality questions of? Who are the people you need to ask more quality questions of? So Cari, you mentioned earlier there were a few communities that you're a part of, and maybe it might be time to call some of those contacts. Think about that for a moment. Are some of those people an opportunity for you to sit down and ask some different quality questions of that relationship to learn more about them? So who are the people you need to ask more quality questions of? What are the conversations you know you need to be having and yet you are not? What are the conversations you know you need to be having and yet you are not? Does that how's that hit us sometimes, right? Oh, I might be avoiding a conversation that I know will move the needle forward, and there could be some hesitancy there for some reason. Getting clear and asking ourselves, well, who are those individuals and what is holding me back? Could it be hesitancy because I'm not sure how I'm going to show up with solutions for this individual? And remember that question, what's my ideal outcome when I do make the phone call? Can really be impactful when we sit with that for a moment. Cari, this one might apply to you as well when you're talking about a few communities that you're thinking. Like, I'm having lots of fun with Cari. Cari gave us a great example today, so I'm like, get ready. We're giving Cari all sorts of homework. She's going to love me. We'll see if I get invited back. Where do you hold relationships that currently have untapped opportunities? Where do you hold relationships that currently hold untapped opportunities? And Cari, you mentioned a couple places that you may have some untapped opportunities in those relationships. Now, I mentioned this one. It's noteworthy to write it down again. What is the ideal outcome that you are seeking your actions to achieve? So as you're identifying the most important critical contacts within your world and asking yourself where those opportunities exist with those contacts, being very clear about what's the next step and next action I'm going to take in that relationship. And it could be, you know what, I have somebody, they reached out 2 days ago. They threw their hand up and said they might be thinking about selling, and I haven't called them because I'm running on my hair on fire. Well, okay, what's my desired outcome? My desired outcome is picking up the phone and going right to let's schedule a listing consultation together, right? Which could be a very different desired outcome than perhaps, Cari, a couple of the contacts you have within your community that could be a connection call. I'm calling to connect. I'm calling to reconnect because it's been too long. Does anybody have anyone in their contact list that, let's face it, it's been too long since we reached out? What is something we can do when we have a contact in our database that we know we should call and it's been too long? Could it be helpful if I share a little script with you? It's a tough one. So Cari, let's say it's been too long. It's been a year since you and I last spoke, and I know I should be calling you. Here's the script. Hi, Cari, it's Renee. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Unbelievable. And yet it's been weighing on me. It's been too long since we last spoke.
Hmm.
I remember you mentioned when we last spoke that your oldest was graduating high school. How did graduation go? I want to do a better job at staying in touch. How is everything? Put it on the table, address it, move on. Guess what happens? The other person never cares. They never care that it's been too long. It's usually our own thought that's imposed on ourselves, that we're fearful that the other person will think it's been too long.
Mhm.
Do we have, Cari, can you think of anybody in your database that you might need to call? You know, we're putting you on some homework. You're going to call in the next couple of days and just put it on the table and overcome that fear.
You know, that is a script I'm very comfortable using. When I was in real estate, I did it all the time and I coach all my people to it. I actually don't have a lot of people in my database that I don't keep in touch with. I'm very good at follow-up and being relentless. It's adding new people to the database and just being more purposeful about going and looking for more, because I feel like I
Yeah.
already have enough and I'm comfortable where I am, but there's more people that we can impact. There's more people we can help. And so that is what my own inability to just get myself to get out there and do that is affecting other people. That's the bottom line for me. This is great though, because it's always our own limiting belief that people are going to be mad that we haven't called them for 2 years. 2 years goes by fast for everybody. And they're going to be like, wow, it's already been 2 years. I didn't even realize that, because life is busy for us all. The fact that you admit that it's been a while and it's been weighing on you and you really have wanted to reconnect and you're so glad that you were able to, is always going to be something that the other person holds dear. At least in my experience, I've never once had a negative response to that. In fact, people usually feel kind of bad that you feel bad. They're like, oh my gosh, don't worry about it. It's been really busy for me too. I'm really bad at keeping in touch with people too, because they don't want you to feel bad. And so it really creates kind of an easy segue to just getting back into it. And now, you reconnect and you kind of start where you left off last time. I mean, that's really the majority of the experiences that I've had when I would make those calls.
And a lot of that is also driven by the social media connection.
Mm-hmm.
Love it or dislike it, the fact of the matter is we think we're more connected to people because we see them on social media. And so here's the good news for real estate agents: if you find yourself with a few contacts that it's been too long and you want to overcome that just little hurdle right now, when you call up and put it on the table, they also probably don't feel like it's been that long, because we feel like we're connecting with people just by seeing them present on social media. So I love that you are awesome at that, Cari, and just get that one out of the way. We all have found ourselves at a time or two where we go, oh my goodness, it really has. It's been too long since I talked to that person. A time that I see agents realize it and even guilty of it and know I need to improve is there'll be times where I'll be driving through a neighborhood and I'll think, oh my goodness, I have a previous customer in this neighborhood on this street and it has been too long. I'm human, right? And yet that's one of the best times to reach out and say, hey, Cari, I was driving through the neighborhood today and thought of you. It's been too long. How are you? How are the dogs? How are the kids? How are the things you know about the person, and just glaze right over it. And it's such a good way to pick it up.
Great.
An area that, we talk about exactly what to say, the book and the body of work, an area that we at the Fund Collection really started to self-identify when we worked through those questions that I shared is there were two core areas. Is number one, we realized that we had a certain pond in our CRM, and it's a pond of buyers. We're very segmented. This particular pond is buyers who raised their hand over the last 8 to 12 months. And for whatever reason, the team just did not connect with the potential buyer. And so we have found ourselves over the last few months to go through this pond and work through by calling and asking a very specific question. So the profile of this customer is a buyer who raised their hand in the last 8 to 12 months. They're still active on the website, which we can see through the CRM. We can see that the customer's still looking at realtyinorlando.com with some frequency, which would be obviously a pretty good indicator that they haven't purchased yet. In this particular pond, we have name, phone number, email, and again, we know they're on our website. So a question that we identified by working through those 5 questions I shared is to call up and say to the customer, you previously inquired about buying a home in the Windermere area. Did you ever make that transaction?
Mhm.
If they say no, if their reply is no, I never made that transaction, then the next question is, well, you've been in a home search this year. What are some of the things you're experiencing? So you take a database segment that we've identified, and it could very easily be a database that in previous years we would just call up and say, did you find a home yet? How's your home search progressing? Oh my goodness, years ago, that was a question we would ask. How's your home search progressing? Now I think of that question, and I think as a consumer, if I heard that, I'd probably want to scratch my nails on chalkboard. Not a good question. We learn and we grow. But to ask the question, as you've been navigating your home search this year, what are some of the things you've experienced, or what are some of the things you've learned? What we're seeing is the customers opening right up and unloading all the important information about they've been in the market for a long time, they're frustrated because of this circumstance, but we learn about them as well, they're still in the market, but they haven't bought yet for the following reasons. So that has been an amazing question. If their reply is, yes, I did, however, I went ahead and purchased, and unfortunately, they purchased elsewhere, the question we ask is, how is the house performing for you? How is the house performing for you? Now, by asking that question, we're getting some really important data. And one of the data points that's been fascinating is a number of the buyers who purchased a home over the last year to 2 years probably made some concessions that they didn't want to make, right? What were buyers doing last year? Buyers were like giving up their firstborn, cutting off their right arm. It felt like they had to give everything up and make all sorts of trade-offs in order to just win the deal. And so by asking the question, how is the house performing for you? Instead of just ending the call, oh, they bought, it's all done, goodbye, we're all done here. We're uncovering fascinating information where there's gaps, and many of those buyers are not happy where they are. And that gives the agent the opportunity to come back in and say, how familiar are you with the inventory that currently is available that might solve those 3 pebbles in the shoe that you otherwise had to make a concession when you bought last year or the year before. How are we doing on time, Cari? I saw you popped
We're
up.
doing great.
Okay,
So
perfect.
let's do about 10 more minutes and then let's just open up for questions. I lost connection for a second, but I'm back and I'm going to continue to monitor if there's questions or comments in the
Perfect.
live stream. So we'll get to those in 10 minutes if that's okay with you.
That is perfectly okay.
Perfect.
That's one example of how the Funk Collection went through a succession of questions to see where are some areas, what are some segments of our database that we want to be very clear on. We have a solution to provide. We know who we are seeking to provide those solutions to. And here is a very strategic way that we can open up more curiosity with that contact to learn about their current situation and to learn about what their potential goals might be today and in years to come. There's another strategy I want to share with everybody. And this is, when we talk about having curiosity as a superpower, one of my favorite ways to gain more information from a potential customer, or even in situations where we're working with a customer who may not be giving us all the information that we need to show up and serve them at the highest level. And that's what we refer to as the 3-in-1. And this even works with your kiddos. If you're a parent on the call, that's to ask the question around a 3-in-1 framework. What are 3 things you love about living in the town of Windermere? And what's one thing you'd change? If we go back to that question, remember that particular buyer that was in the database that we may have learned, they said, yeah, I already bought a house. I bought a house over the last 18 months. And we say, how is the home performing for you? If they don't answer deep enough and we want to go a little bit further and ask some more qualifying questions that will give us more context, then we use that 3-in-1. What's 3 things you love about the current home you live in, and what's one thing you'd change?
Mhm.
So much context can be gained by using that 3-in-1 strategy.
Mhm.
I see you guys writing down. I love it. That's so good. Writing down is where it's at.
Mhm.
All right, I'm going to share another strategy, and this is a little controversial. It may not be the most popular, especially for those of us that have been using this phrase for many, many, many years. Who here follows up? Anybody follows up in your business? Do we follow up in our real estate business? Have you ever heard like there's dollars in the follow up, and there's, fortune in the follow up, right? What if I shared with you that we should never, ever follow up again?
Whoa, I get a lot of time back.
Right? We should never, ever follow up again. Okay, so I'm going to share that not using the word follow up is a very challenging thing for me. I have been following up for an entire real estate career. And yet, over the last few months, the Fund Collection is making a very, very dedicated commitment to change the way we think about how we're connecting with our contacts. So you notice I've used the word connection more than I'm using the word follow up.
Mhm.
And there's a very specific way that we're ending nearly every phone call that we have with a potential customer, where before we would probably end the phone call, make sure we tidied up whatever it was that needed to be shared. If we needed to go for the ask and secure the appointment, we would get the appointment. If maybe it wasn't time to secure the next appointment, we would make notes in our CRM and we would mark them down for the next follow up. We are never following up again at the Fund Collection. Rather, in any phone call, let's take a particular buyer who raised their hand and said that they're thinking about purchasing a home in the next 6 to 12 months. Maybe they're relocating from another part of the country and coming down to Orlando to come and live in sunny Central Florida. But they won't be doing that for 6 to 12 months. Rather than following up, what we do is say, Cari, at the end of this call, because of the fact that you said you're looking for probably a 4-bedroom home very close to Walt Disney World, and it's an ideal property for a primary residence that you'll be retiring, I'm going to send you over a few communities to consider based on the fact that you said it was important to have a 4-bedroom near Walt Disney World. Windermere and Dr. Phillips and Winter Garden could be good communities for you to consider. I'll send over the information. When would be a good time over the next few days for you to take a look at that information? Cari would say, well, I can do that. I can do that. It's Wednesday. I can take a look at the information tomorrow afternoon. Fantastic. How does Friday or Saturday look for you to reconnect and review some of the communities that I sent over to you? Cari says Friday afternoon would be great. Fantastic. How about 3:00? Great. I'll give you a call Friday at 3:00. We will look over the information that I sent you for Windermere and Dr. Phillips in Winter Garden, and I look forward to seeing you there. Boom. You just got your next connection. When you call the customer Friday at 3:00, you're calling the customer to say, as promised, I'm calling to review the information I sent to you for Windermere, Dr. Phillips in Winter Garden. And at the end of every connection, we are setting the next connection. Even if it's a 10-minute phone call, even if it's what we used to call just a quick, let's follow up contact, it's one connection to the next. So it's a never ending conversation, and we are never following up again. Following up, retraining our brains means chasing. Gaining the next commitment between two parties is a mutually agreed upon relationship where everybody knows what's next. So we're never following up again, Cari.
I love it. And it's so funny because it's a word. We talked about that at the beginning of this call. For those of you that weren't here, we talked about how the conversations are the relationship, and the words we use matter more than anything. And so it might actually be what's holding us back is We don't want to follow up, just like we don't want to lead generate. It's all in the word. It's not lead generation. It's connecting with people and seeing how we can help them and building a relationship. It's not following up. It's reconnecting. Because as human beings, that is an innate need we have. We are social beings. And so it's about just using the words that make us feel better about it. So we do it, but also the other person, so they allow us to do it.
And also think about it, put your consumer hat on for a moment. The words we use matter, and knowing exactly what to say in the right time to say it, right? As a consumer, especially when you have someone newer that you know is a sales professional, you know ultimately they're trying to sell you, but you know they haven't earned your rapport yet. If that sales professional says to you, can we set up an appointment? No, we can't. You haven't earned that yet, right? We have to learn about the individual before we can earn that opportunity to do that. And yet, if you have a sales professional who is providing you value, you notice that when we frame it in, because of the fact that you said you were looking for a 4-bedroom close to Walt Disney World, right? You as a potential buyer were giving me nuggets that then I could say, here are a couple recommendations based on the fact that you shared these important features. When would be a good time to review over the next couple of days, and let's connect to go over some of the feedback that you may have. And if it's a connection, that's just it can be just a brief few minutes. One other thing on words matter, I know we're going to open it up for Q&A, is oftentimes I'm pretty passionate about agent to agent colleague relationships. And oftentimes agents, when they reach out, they're representing a buyer, and the listing agent may receive a phone call, and that buyer's agent may something like, my client, my buyer, to the listing agent. I'm going to nudge us all to consider changing one word. Instead of saying my buyer when you're representing a buyer, call them the buyer. And that works even if, think of the scenario when you walk into a showing and the listing agent is present, and we introduce, as agents, many times agents will say, here's my buyers, the Smiths, rather than saying, hello, here's the buyers. So let's change my to the.
Interesting how impactful one little word is on our mindsets. And that's why it's so critical to be aware of what we're saying, both consciously and subconsciously. They affect everything. I love this. Great conversation. What ahas are you guys having?
What was that?
I was asking, what ahas is everybody
else?
Oh,
ahas. Yes.
Yeah.
Please
what's
share.
coming to mind as you hear Renee say these things? And don't forget to copy and paste the notes in the chat if you haven't been able to write, because they're there for you guys. But what comes to mind as you're hearing Renee, when you're hearing these conversations? Don't be shy.
I 100% agree on the not using the word my. It sounds possessive, and you're really helping two parties come together to transact, so you don't own those people. So I love the fact that you're mentioning that they're not my buyers. They're actually people who are looking to buy a property. So appreciate that.
It can be a tough, simple swap, right? It sounds simple, and yet we are all human. And for so many years, we can refer to something in a certain way. And what we can challenge ourselves on is, but what would happen if we just made this one change? And how could that make those around us feel? The my and the, and I actually learned this from Phil M. Jones, the author of Exactly What to Say. Phil reminds any team leader, if you're a team leader watching in the real estate industry, I found this to be it hit my heart, is when we refer to our team, it's the team. It's not my team, the team. And when Phil inspired that thought, I started thinking, where else is that showing up in our business? And I identified it with how we refer to our customers. In the right times, it should be the client rather than my. So I love that, Lisa. Thanks for sharing.
This is John Pasilio here. Hey, Renee.
Hi, John.
Hey,
Good to see you.
Good to see you again. Hey, I have never seen anybody pay more attention to language than you, honestly. I mean, where does that come from? Is it, are you curious about the English language, or is it a profit? I know it's obviously profitable. But where does that come from? Or do you have a teaching background, or what is that?
I do not have a teaching background. My background's in customer service prior to being a realtor. I worked for many years with the Walt Disney World Company, which is, as many of you know, is very customer centric. And I carried that forward into the real estate industry, and for many years felt that maybe I was different. There was an opportunity to focus on customer service within the real estate industry while also recognizing we're sales professionals. We are here to sell, and by selling, we earn an income, and yet slowing down and really thinking about the core of the relationship first and earning the relationship by using some different phrases has always been a passion of mine. Coincidentally, as I shared with you, and it was like a moth to a flame when I found the Exactly What to Say book, and haven't been able, when I say it's by my right hand side all the time, it is always by my right side. It's a small in size book, so it's able to be with me at all times. And it is a moth to the flame. The body of work that I've been learning through Exactly What to Say as a certified guide has completely changed the way I'm thinking about understanding the humans that are in our world, whether it be personal relationships or certainly within the real estate industry with our customers.
Mm-hmm. Love it. It's a book
Thank
we
you
all
for the
need to
question.
get.
That's right.
Yeah, start with the book. It is here in the chat, Audible or read it, or both, better yet both, and carry it around with you like Renee does. Any other questions for Renee or comments?
I like to say something.
Yeah.
It says sync department. My name is Justin, by the way.
Hi, Justin.
Hi, Justin.
I first and foremost, thank you for this. I caught wind of it at the end, so thanks for letting me in. I saw it on the Instagram page, so that's how I was able to get to it.
Wonderful.
I think that this is amazing. The fact that you were able to open it up to just all realtors and go over these things. And I think language is important in how we communicate. And sometimes we say things that we don't mean, and we kind of are use different terms that we shouldn't be using, and in terms of communicating with other people. So I think it's very important that, us as professionals, we learn and take all these golden nuggets that you guys are, teaching, to be able to, implement it in our own business, but also to pay it forward to the others that are, coming behind us. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And John mentioning using words a little bit differently too, is think of it this way. When you're identifying areas within your verbiage and within the words that you choose that set you apart and might be a little bit different, another amazing benefit is it creates curiosity from the other person. So if the Fun Collection is choosing to try like crazy to stop following up and change it slightly to say that we are going from one connection to the next throughout the relationship. Well, when I'm in conversation with other agents, it raises an eyebrow. What does that mean, you're going from one connection to the next? Rather than what we know in the industry is everybody's following up. You got to follow up, got to sit down, you got to make your phone calls. Do you? Or could it be possible that we go from one connection to the next? What does that mean? Identify areas in your business and in your world. Try with your kids as well, and try with your spouses. Where are some of the words that even could become lazy language that we can make simple swaps to that will carry big impact? And that's another reason why, it's just been so much fun to dive into Exactly What to Say. And I'm grateful that y'all are giving me an opportunity to share just a sliver of it here. I have an ask, and my ask is connect with me on Instagram. I share more about the book and more about some of the amazing simple swaps and language changes that we're making on Instagram, which is Renee _funk. So let's connect. and also stay active in the EXP Family Tree group and continue to support Cari's awesome servant leadership. She's giving back so much to the community, and we're grateful for that.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Renee, for being here. You guys, was this great? This was great information. We had a lot of people watching live. We had a few comments, people just affirming what you said, some that had read the book, tons of people watching and still watching. So thanks you guys for that. If you happen to have access to Workplace, of course, you can go back into EXP Family Tree, you guys, and watch this live stream anytime. But if you're not someone that has access to that, I will be posting this recording on my YouTube channel. Just search my name, Cari Briner. It'll be up there within 24 hours. So for an example, if anybody here is not, within EXP that just joined the Zoom, you can go back and watch the full recording if you didn't catch the whole thing, or if you want to share it with somebody else. Any questions? You guys know how to get a hold of us. Thank you, Renee, so much. This is amazing. We'll have you back later in the year, and maybe you can expound on some of this, because this was fantastic. I know we would love a follow-up on that if you're up for it.
Absolutely. Thank you. And it was a pleasure to share time with you all.
You too. Thanks, everybody. Make it a
Make it a great day. Take care.